So we said yesterday with the return of certain people coming back from COVID that, decisions were going to need to be made, especially at that inside linebacker spot, because last week the starting group was Robert Spillane and Marcus Allen. Both of those guys played well in their own regard. Now, it wasn't perfect by no stretch of the imagination. They had their moments as well where they were on the receiving end of some bad stuff, but as a whole, they played really well. And now this week you get Devin Bush and Joe Schobert returning. So it begged the question, no different than how we just talked about J.C. Hassenauer versus Kendrick Green. And now I feel like the consensus is we want to go J.C., keep him out there. Is that the same consensus? Is that the same sentiment for inside linebacker? And this is for the chat as well. I mean, I if you want, I could put a poll up. Y'all let me know. But yeah, I'm really interested to feel like what is the temperature on the inside linebacker spot, because they have struggled a lot this season. The play has been below the line a lot this season, to the point where we've had to talk about both of those guys now in very unsavory ways as it pertains to their productivity. So yeah, where are we at now, man?
It's a fair question to bring up. The thing that sucks is that Bush was playing a little bit better than he was the rest of the season.
Okay.
These last couple games before he went on the COVID list. Man. Like, do you think if Bush was in last week, we look that much worse on defense? I think it was more the Browns' offense.
See, we're saying that now, but that's after the fact. We can't do that.
I know it is.
That's after the fact, and we're saying it in a way to minimize what Spillane and Marcus did. If Spillane and Marcus Allen don't make the plays that they make, we're not saying that Browns offense looks bad. We're saying that, man, we couldn't stop them again.
Here's my thing, though. Yeah. Spillane and Allen have been inconsistent as well.
Okay.
It's not like with JC and Kendrick Green. Kendrick Green, we've seen him the whole season. We haven't seen J.C. Hassenauer, really, outside of like spot duty, I think, early in the year.
But that's the exact same thing about Spillane and Allen. We're not going to act like those guys have played this large amount of games this season. They probably have played the exact same amount of games, especially Allen. He's probably played the same amount of games as J.C. Hassenauer.
Time, snaps.
Right, especially like defense. Because like Allen plays a lot, but he plays on special teams. So he's going to always show up in terms of stats, in terms of snaps played. But it's special team snaps, not defensive snaps. So we have not seen a ton of Allen. Spillane, we started to see more of on third downs, but that was because of what? Devin Bush's play. So we haven't seen a ton of negativity from Spillane and Allen as compared to, with Bush and Schobert, where at times with Bush, you could make a highlight video. It's not good. Like a low light video.
Schobert hasn't been that bad this year.
No, not Schobert.
Not Schobert. Like, do you think he should be starting though? Like right off the bat? Or does it depend on the combination?
I personally think it depends on the combination. Personally. But I mean, what would you do? How would you want it?
I'd just go back to Bush and Schobert.
See, I don't want to do that. I would much rather either stick with Spillane and Allen, or I'm going Spillane and Schobert.
You don't even want Bush.
What is he going to bring that is better than Spillane right now? He doesn't play the run better than him. We know the coverage is the same for both of these guys right now.
Coverage a little better for Bush.
When? Don't tell me just because he's a better athlete. When has he been better in coverage? Now I know. I'll retract that. What was that?
Like I saw enough from
2 games. Correct.
Even in
Correct.
the Browns game where it's just like Bush hasn't been getting torched that much. Outside of Eckler,
You're right. Because he did have the PBU that would have forced. He should have had the NO. Was that Tennessee? Yeah. So he coverage wise, he has been playing better.
He's just been playing a little bit better overall these last couple games. Before
I would agree.
The COVID list. That's why I was a little bummed out. I wouldn't be opposed to pulling him quick though. I think you give Bush the chance.
But see, that's my thing. If I'm gonna be ready to pull him quick, why am I even putting him out there then? If I'm ready to pull him quick, I don't want a guy that's gonna be out there on eggshells.
Just because he was playing good before the COVID stuff.
But I don't want a guy that's gonna be on eggshells. Because if I tell him, hey, as soon as you mess up, I'm going to pull you, what do you think he's going to be thinking the whole time? He's not going to be thinking about making plays. He's going to be thinking about not messing up so he don't have to worry about Spillane coming in for him.
Are you telling him that before, though?
I feel like it's...
I think you just do. I mean, it's the last game.
I feel like he has to know. He has to know because it's already been displayed. He's on a short leash because we've already seen that been happening as well.
That's what I mean. Why should it be any different then? Like, you just got to go out and perform. This is all high stakes stuff. You got to be built for this.
Okay, so you're playing the Ravens. What do the Ravens like to do on offense? Regardless of who's their quarterback.
They do like to run the ball.
Who is the better run defender?
Spillane. Yes.
Is it close?
No. Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, Spillane, when he's out there, he gets in the holes right, makes the tackle. Yeah.
So for this game as well, knowing the stakes, you have to win to at least get the opportunity to get into the playoffs, right? Baltimore, they are limited because of the quarterback situation, which means they're going to do what? They're going to come out and try to run that ball even more.
For matchup purposes, even.
Because I feel like
I know if you want to rip on Bush and just say no, I don't want him in because of how he played, how inconsistent he's been all year. That's one thing,
right.
But then this might just actually be better for the matchup. Then maybe we play someone else in the playoffs, and Bush will be better for the matchup.
And that's kind of like my thought process, because it's like I'm not saying that Spillane is a better player than Bush, but he has a defining characteristic that he excels in that Bush struggles in, versus an opponent that we know that's their identity, has been. Regardless of whichever guy's at quarterback, that's their identity. And regardless of whichever linebacker, Spillane or Devin Bush, if either one are matched up against Mark Andrews, it's going to be a problem anyways. So at least give me the guy that I know I can count on this element being an improvement, an upgrade, versus me having, a mismatch here if you cover Mark Andrews. And I'm not going to get the downhill thumping, big play run stuff that we're getting, or at least that we keep seeing from Spillane. That's really my thought process with it.
So who's with Spillane? Who's your other guy?
I kind of like Schobert, but at the same time, I'm not against if you kept Allen out there, because Allen is a better athlete than Schobert.
Maybe you could cover Andrews a little better.
Well, I personally don't think any dude is covering Andrews.
We need to double.
I want to double him. I want Minka over there with it in some capacity. But the thing that I like about Marcus is what I keep seeing now. Like I told you, these past 3 games, right? Minnesota, Allen was struggling in terms of Hollywood and getting up in the line of scrimmage, but tracking that running back as he goes behind the line of scrimmage, screen plays, burst onto routes. We saw that, and it looked bad at times. Kansas City, we said, man, Marcus is improving in this area.
You think it's just been experience?
This game right here, this last game, if you go back and watch it, man, Marcus was killing these screens. They were trying to do a lot of screen stuff early on and even late in the game. But Marcus, for some reason, because he finally understood that, hey, if I just make it look like I'm blitzing this guy, if I just follow this guy and make sure I can get there, I can make plays. And he made a ton of those caliber plays where the rush is all there. And if they get this screen pass off and it's completed, Nick Chubb going to be running for some time. But because Allen then tracked it over there, he's messing up the time and he's messing up the rhythm of it, or he's making the tackle himself. You see him late in the game, he slips the block, goes on there, make a shoestring tackle. That was big. That's the stuff that I haven't seen Joe do. I haven't seen Bush do that. I haven't seen Spillane do that. So for me, that's the other part where I'm like, if I got this taken care of in terms of the run game with Spillane, well, who's the better of the coverage guy? Who can do of what I need accomplished? Who gives me that? Allen right now looks like he's giving me that. So that's the other reason why I'm like, I'm not as sold on switching it. I'm not right now, even though those guys have been the starters. Because
the starters and the bigger names.
Right, because it's like if they would have been playing to the point where, hey, the defense might be struggling, but it's not you guys, that's different. Like, think about what the defense struggling. We never said it was TJ, it was Highsmith, or it was Cam. We never said it was Mika. It was like, oh, man,
pretty much
these
the
guys.
linebackers.
Right.
Pretty much Bush and, a guy or two on the defensive line at times.
So for me, like, when I'm thinking of all of those things, that's why I keep getting stuck on this dilemma of, do I go with the bigger names, the money, the draft stock? Or do I go with the guys who are coming off of a productive game, a really productive game versus a team that wanted to run the ball?
Yeah, you're right. And the Browns, I would say, have the more formidable run offense compared to the Ravens right now.
They do.
The Ravens are a little different because some of the read option stuff.
Right.
But you bring up good points. I mean, you sold me, actually. Sure. Stick with them.
But even me, I'm still like not even 100% either way yet. That's my problem.
It could go bad.
Yes,
it could definitely go bad.
Because remember when I said, I was like, man, well, both of those guys, they had their moments, right? So I got plays where Spillane excelled in the run game and got cooked in coverage. And
we saw that.
But then I also have plays where Allen excelled in coverage, but then was getting cooked in run game. I'm looking at you think about the first big run, right? Nick Chubb had the 20-yard run. That wasn't on anybody but the backside linebacker. And the backside linebacker on that play was Allen. Because part we talk about with Devin Bush is like, hey, if you're not, ahead of it in terms of cheating your alignment or just fighting like a son of a gun to get over top, you cut off the backside pursuit, but also you're, in terms of the run fits, they're anticipating or banking on you being on the other side of this blocker. And on that particular play, the guy got up and caught it, he cut him off. And now you don't have, so when you get Spillane forcing it, he's trying to send it back to him. He's not getting over there. That's some of the stuff, but him and Devin struggle with that because they're lighter guys. Mm-hmm. They're built for more speed and stuff like that. So that is the part where I'm like, it could go bad if they climb up on him like that. Because I know he doesn't have that in his wheelhouse just yet. He can develop it down the line, but right now he doesn't have that. So that's the part where I say, well, maybe Schobert, or do you go back to Bush, because at least Bush was starting to understand that part a little bit more.
He was playing better,
so that's why it's like I'm not as so either way just yet. But I know I don't want whatever group I settle on. I don't want it to feel like they got to be on this super short leash, because I know as a player, it's hard to play like that, man. It's hard. And even though they don't have to
that's what I'm willing to do. Right. I'm willing to just, all right, you're not working these first two series, just switch it. That's why I don't find it as that big
because
of a deal.
Then what happens is this: when the group you put out there goes out there and say they struggle, and what you're gonna do? You're gonna say, you know what, I'm pulling you guys back out, and now you got to go back to the group that you just pulled. That's
it's a mess.
You see what I mean? Yeah. And they will know, they will have an identity of, if that's the thought process with practices, if they're out here and they're splitting these reps 50-50, they know, okay, we both, hey, all us on short leashes, if we all get reps like this. If they're going out there and it's like, hey, Spillane and Allen, y'all are going to get, of the 10 plays for this period, y'all are going to get 6 of them. Bush and Schobert, y'all get the last 4. If it's like that, that's different. But if you're talking about, hey, you went for 2, you go for 2. You went for 2, you go for 2, they're going to know. At least it's very short. And you're going to get out there, and some guys play tight. Now, some guys, it helps them. Some guys, they play better when they're under that pressure. But I have seen it where guys tighten up because they're playing to not make a mistake. They're playing to not get benched. And it's hard to excel when you're thinking like that.
Well, with Allen, as you mentioned, he's similar to Bush because lighter frames. Do you feel like you were getting better effort, though, at least from him? Because I could just tell in your voice, you were excited about him breaking up the screens or doing some of this extra stuff.
Because the effort is there, the speed is there, and he plays like he wants to make plays. Even when he's wrong, even when he's blocked, he looks pissed. Even when he misses a tackle, he looks like, yo, I let you guys down. Whereas this is not just me. All of us have seen the tape with Devin. At times, it doesn't look like he's as emotionally invested. I mean, that's nothing new. We all seen that, bro. So, so that's why for me, I'm just like, okay, if it is even, I kind of want to go with the guy that at least looks like he cares, like it means a little bit more, even if it doesn't. It just looks more authentic. You see Marcus from start to finish, man, he kicking his leg up, he flexing. Like anytime he's around the ball, if he knows he made the play, even if he didn't make the tackle, he's like, yo, I pulled up this play so that guy can make the tackle. Let's go. Like, I like that energy. I like it because it lets me know he's committed, he's invested, and he understands that, hey, I'm doing my job, but I'm also, while me doing my job, it's helping the big picture out as well. At times, I don't know if Devin, if he's not making the play, if it means as much to him. Because when we see him and we look at his body language, it just doesn't scream like a guy who is hyped to be out there at times. So, yeah.
What does this game mean for Bush? 2022. We're not picking up his 5th-year option. There's no way.
Whoa, you have really changed your tune on him now. Wow.
There's no way. I'd still like to give him a chance, though.
I'm saying, but what made you change your mind, though, about his option? Because for a while, I feel like you had like a lot of grace and a lot of like...
For Bush?
Yeah, whereas for me...
I still do. I still think you give him a chance next year. But his play hasn't warranted 5th-year option. No way. I think we all can agree on that.
Like I said,
there's no reason to do it either, because if Bush plays well next season, then you could just sign him to a contract after that, tag him, whatever it is. There's just no reason to give him the 5th-year option, though. Yeah,
because maybe, I mean, in the sense, the decline of the 5th-year option would be more of a wake-up call to him, kind of like what we saw, not to the same extent of like Edmonds, but in the sense it at least lets you know, like, all right, I got to play better. I got to step it up even more. Like, let me go out here and put my best performance out there, right? They know what it is. I know what it is. Let's go out and have a season. Whereas if you pick up the option, now you kind of lie to the guy. It's like, hey, we're not happy with your play, but we actually are happy with your play. Here, this is the guaranteed 5th year. Like, it sends a mixed signal. So that's the part where when we talked about this offseason, we're like, man, in the midst of everything that was going on with Devin, whether it was the social media, whether it was the in and out in terms of practice availability and stuff like that. And we're like, bro, this is a big year for him. Like, he has to go out here and play really well. And it's just, I just don't feel like he had that urgency like he would have needed to. And I do think if they decline it in terms of that 5th year option, we will, or at least we should see more urgency from here this offseason coming up.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think if Bush doesn't play this game, or if he does, how he plays. Like, this doesn't impact.
No, I think you still,
really,
you still keep him next year regardless.
Yeah.
But in terms of, could this game sway me one way or the other in terms of how soon I draft an inside linebacker? It could.
He would have to play good though, like really good. That's
what I'm saying.
Maker. If he plays bad, it's just more of like what we've seen most of the season anyway.
Then we're like, hey, we're gonna draft the guy. Don't worry about it. But if he comes out here and looks at least like what we thought he could be, or at least like his rookie year, then now you might be saying, okay, instead of me feeling like I got to get a guy in these first 2-3 rounds, maybe I could wait to the 4th or the 5th. Like, that is the part where I'm saying to myself, like, that part maybe, but he would have to do a lot in this game for me personally to change that, because I'm not a guy that after one game, I'm like, oh yeah. I believe it. I believe it all the way, especially for him, because we've seen so much of the other this season.
For sure.
So,
even though it was pointing in the right direction, Titans game, last couple of games before he got the COVID.
Yeah.
But I mean, even one of those games I'm kind of talking about was the Vikings, and like that was terrible on the ground. But he had the stuff in the second half that kind of helped us get back in it with the pass deflection, led to the pick, had a nice tackle, I think, in there too. But outside of that, Titans game looked decent. Not much else.
Exactly.
Not too much else. I mean, early in the season, I liked what he did in the Bills game, but it's just been a whole kind of mess in between that.
No, it definitely has, man. All right, so looking at the poll, it's tight,
convinced
though.
Me enough.
It's tight.
I'll go with Bobby.
It's tight, but 54% do have that they would like Robert Spillane and Marcus Allen to be the guys this week. They would go with them versus Schobert and Devin Bush. It's a little interesting, man. But I'm sure the performances of those guys in terms of Bush and Schobert throughout the whole season, even though at these past couple of weeks they've improved, I think that people are they tired of it. You know, and it's one of those things where if we're going to criticize Kevin Colbert, the coaching staff, for their continuing to put Kendrick Green out there over a guy like J.C. Hassenauer, who we have clearly seen, he can do this at a better clip. If we're going to get on them for that move, we would have to get on them the same vein, in a sense, if they continue with the Devin Bush and Schobert thing versus guys that we at least have seen play well, or at least do something well out there.